part of my promise to interlace my programs with themes of wildlife conservation, I've invited my friend Eric Austin Yee, a biologist who has a love for marine life and the ocean, to join me to talk about whales and whale conservation. He's got some great stories and information. Certainly one of the Earth's most majestic creatures. Even these animals need our attention. There are several issues in whale conservation, and Eric is here to speak on that and to give us a glimpse as to what it's like working around these iconic creatures of the ocean. This is the Edgar Ortega radio show. Please follow this video to my YouTube channel and subscribe to my videos, or you can wait to the end of this video and you'll see my face pop up on the video, and you can subscribe by clicking there. Also find me and follow my radio show page on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you for joining me now. Let's go ahead and get right to my interview with Eric. Eric Austin Yee is an accomplished biologist and manager for Dana Wharf Whale Watching in Dana Point, California. He is dedicated to educating the world about our ocean and its inhabitants by leading whale watching trips and lectures, as well as through wildlife photography. In addition to his work with Dana Wharf, he's an educator at a major Southern California aquarium, where he leads presentations, tours, and more whale watching trips. Eric, thank you so much for being here to talk about whale conservation with me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime.
Eric, now your love for wildlife is taking you on trips beyond here in California. You've gone to Canada and Mexico. I'd love to hear about those trips you've gone on.
Oh yeah, I've taken a few trips. I try to go at least once a year on a big trip. Sometimes actually in the last few years it's been down to the middle of Baja California. That's where a lot of the gray whales actually go to during the cooler months to actually raise their calves. And over there in the area right in the middle of Baja, San Ignacio Lagoon, Scammons Lagoon, Magdalena Bay is pretty amazing. During the cooler months, like the moms and calves just hang out there, and they actually the Mexican government actually allows you to take a small little wooden boat out there called pangas, and these whales will actually come up and interact with you. So that's one of the trips I try to take annually.
Oh wow, that's cool. So and then you go off to Canada too?
Yeah, what we usually do is actually we try to go up to San Juan Islands, which is over there in northern Washington. But a lot of these trips actually sometimes take you across the border into Canada. And those trips are usually mainly for checking out the southern resident killer whales out there. And during the late summer is when a lot of those whales actually enter up there.
Oh, right. Now, you get to go on these cool trips just to look for whales like some of us do for other animals. It's lots of fun. Tell me about the species of whales. Let's go back here to California. Tell me about the species that pass through here on the California coast that people might have a chance to see.
Yeah, definitely. So pretty much our entire coastline actually has whales to see year-round, but we do have peaks, depending on what time of year, which part of California you're at, you're going to see an abundance of certain whales at a certain time of year. For example, now it's going to be gray whales. Gray whales are actually, majority of them right now are actually on their way down the coast. They usually feed all summer up in northern Alaska, most of them, and then they start heading south. Usually around December or January or so, we'll start seeing a lot of them heading south. So they kind of come down the west coast of North America. They obviously pass through California and then on their way down to Baja California. Right about now is kind of like a transition period. Some of them have already made it down to Baja California, so they're going to turn around and start heading north. So we're seeing both north and southbound gray whales right now. And then another two species that are pretty common to see out here that usually make moves are blue whales and also humpback whales.
Oh, wow.
Both those species are usually peak season for them is during the warmer months, especially the blue whales. But we've noticed that humpback whales, we used to always say that they migrate to southern Mexico and maybe even far down in Central America during the times when it cools down. But things have changed. We don't know if it's the climate or if it's because of the growth of the population, but humpbacks are seen year-round off California now. And blue whales, we tend to see them during the late summer. So yeah, those are the big three species that people love coming to Southern California to see.
No, that's pretty good. Blue whales, of course, being the biggest of the whales. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they are the largest living creature on the planet. But one neat thing is, in the southern hemisphere, you always hear stories about, blue whales getting about 100 feet long. Down in the southern hemisphere is where they reach their maximum size. I want to say they have officially recorded, I believe, was 108 feet. But what happens is in the northern hemisphere, our stock or population here is slightly smaller, but still pretty big. About 86 to 88 feet is the max out here in the northern hemisphere, the ones that we see out here in California.
Oh, is that all? Just 88
That's
feet?
it.
Okay.
just close to 100 feet.
The little guys. Now, these are not, you mentioned blue whales. Aren't they the biggest living animal that's ever lived as well?
Yeah, they're saying that, even heavier and longer than some of the dinosaurs. Of course, we'll probably never get a true measurement in the weight of the dinosaurs, but yeah, most researchers agree that, yeah, the blue whale is going to be the largest living creature ever to be on our planet. So yeah, we're talking about an animal that can easily, get lengths of close to 100 feet and a couple hundred thousand pounds.
Yeah. No, luckily they're in the water. They can handle that. It's really cool that, these animals are living now that were bigger than even dinosaurs. You talked about the whale migration a little bit. I was going to ask you about that, but you mentioned the blue whales being bigger down in the southern hemisphere, so they don't travel all the way down there. They kind of have their own kind of space they go between?
What's kind of unique is, even though we have blue whales in, oceans worldwide, there's different stocks or population. I know you're a big herper, and you know how there's certain areas that have, certain localities, and it's kind of like the same thing with blue whales. There are some that will pretty much stay down towards the southern hemisphere area, down in South America, whereas our stock or population that we see out here in Southern California tends to travel pretty much, I think they've been recorded as far north as Washington and Oregon, and then they'll go as far south as Central America. So that's our particular population, but obviously there's different populations, in other oceans that will have a different type of migration pattern. But ours is generally come north towards California during the warmer months, and then head down south towards southern Mexico, or as far as down to Central America during the cooler months. So that's what our population does.
Okay, I was just wondering. So it's genetic. It's not something like having to do with the temperatures, or could it be that they live longer, that they get bigger? It's none of that. It's just the genetics.
We're thinking it could be genetics. There are actually, like a pygmy species of blue whale, and they don't get as big as the ones that we have over here. There are genetic differences between those whales and some slight physical differences. As far as the stock goes, there actually are, if you really get into it, there usually are slight genetic differences in those animals. Another thing that could cause size issues too is availability of food too. Be krill tends to be really, 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 really abundant down in Antarctica. So that might also, possibly lead to the bigger sizes.
Oh, yeah. Do they grow their whole lives, or do they kind of reach a point and then they're
I'm not really sure about that, Okay. I have a feeling, to reach that max size, they possibly grow for, a majority of their life. Yeah.
Okay. I got kind of stuck on blue whales. They're so cool. I've never seen them in the wild, so other stuff.
Yeah. It's pretty neat because, you're talking about the biggest living creature on the planet. So they got some pretty impressive numbers to show off. So yeah, everyone's pretty fascinated by them.
No, I'd love to see one out in the wild. You mentioned gray whales, the blue whales, the humpback whales. Are there other ones? Do you ever see like sperm or orcas around?
So yeah, actually we do. Those whales are pretty unique. Sperm whales, they just pop up occasionally out here in Southern California. The latest sighting was by some boats out in the Long Beach area. And then my company itself, Dana Wharf Whale Watch, a few years ago actually came upon a pod of close to about 100 sperm whales that were actually off our coastline hanging out. They believe it was a nursery pod, a lot of moms and calves hanging out. And yeah, believe it or not, just seeing one sperm whale is pretty unique, and you're pretty lucky to see one out in Southern California. But to see a pod of over 100 of them is, once in a lifetime experience. So every now and then they show up. I mean, I'm in the industry, out at sea quite often, and I've only been lucky enough to see a sperm whale once so far. So hopefully I get another chance to see him again. But I've seen one once only. Yeah, so that shows you how unique it is. I know a lot of captains, who are out at sea pretty much every day, most of their life, and they've never seen him. So you never know.
So you got lucky with that one. Are these species that like breach? They go flying out of the water, or are they not?
Yeah, you know what? Sperm whales actually are capable of breaching. There's some whales that we say don't breach, but every now and then they surprise us. One whale that we actually do get out here year round is the fin whale. They're not known to be the most, active whale out there. They are really fast, but they don't tend to breach. But there have been a few rare occasions where people have witnessed them breach. And another thing that they rarely do is fluke. Fluking is when you see a whale, show its tail. And fin whales rarely do that, but there's quite a few that about 2 or 3 that we know of out here in my part of California, Southern California, that'll occasionally do it. So when you see that happen, it's quite a treat. Other whales like gray whales, humpback whales, and blue whales, they'll fluke more often.
And you'll see the orcas too around here?
Yeah, the neat thing about orca is there's different stocks and populations of those too, what we refer to as ecotypes. In my part over here in Southern California, it's not common to see the orca over in the Monterey Bay Central Coast. It's actually it seems to be more common out there in the Monterey Bay area for that fleet to see orca, and they usually see what we call the transient orca. They're marine mammal eating orca, and they actually might become more oftenly seen in the next few months, because I was telling you about the gray whales heading north. A lot of times when the gray whales are heading north, they're actually accompanied by a calf, mom, what we call cow-calf pairs, moms and babies heading up the coastline. And once again, transient orca eat marine mammals, and one of their favorite prey items is gray whale calves.
Oh, wow.
And we've actually witnessed a lot of predation there in the Monterey Bay area of transient orca feeding on these calves. And I've been fortunate, to some people unfortunately, to be able to witness one of these predations, and it's quite a sight. It's life-changing.
Very traumatic, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Some people react differently. A lot of us, especially, I know amongst our friends, a lot of us are, wildlife folks, so we understand. But we get people there sometimes who, don't really get it. They'll want us to call the Coast Guard, and I'm telling them, that's like me pulling a hamburger out of your mouth. These animals are just doing what they do, getting their food. But it is kind of a traumatic experience, but it's what a lot of us go out there to see, Mother Nature, and sometimes it's not always something pleasant.
Yeah, no. I remember when I lost my innocence to those types of whales, watching the on Discovery Channel and all that, whether they were playing with probably with seal pups or sea lion pups, how they come up on the beach and tear them up. No, but they're whale baby murderers too. Okay, good to know. You know what I learned just now? I learned that the plural of orca is orca. I call them orcas when I ask you. See, so I'm learning too. No, it's really interesting talking about whales. So cool. Now, tell me about, these are animals that also they have a conservation status. These are protected animals. Are they all protected? How's that work?
As of now, majority of cetaceans out there, whales and dolphins are actually protected. And here in the United States, we do have the Marine Mammal Protection Act. It's actually was started in the 70s. No matter what the animal's status, such as threatened or endangered, there's still that Marine Mammal Protection Act that protects these animals. For us whale watchers, the major thing that applies to us is approaching the animals. So you always want to stay, approximately 100 yards away from them. That's one of the guidelines. Oh. And also, you don't want to stay with the animal pretty much your entire trip. Guidelines are, stay 100 yards away and try to spend only about, 30 minutes or so with the animal. So there are guidelines out there protecting marine mammals, even pinnipeds, seals, and sea lions. The same thing applies to them. So, here in the United States, the Marine Mammal Protection Act that was started in the 70s do have guidelines to protect all these animals.
Yeah, I've seen some elephant seals on the beach. Those are really cool. I guess they're protected too, like that.
Exactly.
Now, do you normally see them just on the surface? Have you ever been able to see them like diving or anything like that? Or is that something you'd want to do?
You know what? So once again, that Marine Mammal Protection Act actually covers that too.
Oh, wow.
You can't be in the water with these animals. So, but in certain parts of the world, there are obviously, looser regulations. Like I said, I take that trip down to Baja, California, and over there, we don't even have to approach those gray whales. They actually approach you. And obviously, we can actually touch those animals there. We pet them like they're like our pet dog. So over there, touching the animal is okay in those lagoons as long as they, are okay with it. There's certain parts of the world, like in the Dominican Republic and Tonga, you can actually swim with humpback whales, but still, a lot of those programs are still monitored because for a lot of those people, it's their livelihood. They don't want any accidents or anything else bad to happen to both their guest and the animal, because that's their livelihood. So a lot of these places, are pretty much regulating themselves because they don't want to ruin their livelihood.
Oh, that's really amazing. I mean, that makes me want to go down to Mexico and get up and close to a whale if that's allowed.
It's a life-changing experience. Wow. I mean, I've gone down there a few times with people in the whale watching industry, and I've seen grown men cry. I've seen people, who are so amazed at that moment that they can't even speak. They're just like literally just screaming and inaudible. It's really a neat experience. It never gets you never get used to it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Do you think they are they curious about people? Do they sense intelligence? I mean, they're big marine mammals, so I mean,
you know what? When you're out there, a lot of people who don't know any better, so you see one whale, you see them all. It's just a big dumb fish, But when you're out there, you are literally looking at these gray whales eye to eye, and there's someone's there. It's kind of amazing that it's even happening down there, because decades ago, humans were actually killing the whales over there in the lagoons. They were easy targets in those lagoons, but decades later, they are approaching the boats. The moms actually will push the calves like towards us, like literally, like kind of like a mother handing their baby over to you. So,
check out my baby. Look at my baby.
Exactly. So we'll never obviously we'll probably never speak or understand whale, but there's some type of interaction there that they that they're initiating. So it's pretty amazing.
No, it's fitting. It's fascinating. You're looking at the whale and they're looking right back at you. I wonder what they're thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, obviously we talked about them being protected. What are some issues in whale conservation? Are these animals threatened by anything that we should be aware of and concerned with?
Out here in California, there are two major issues that are a threat to these animals. Number one is what we call ship strike. Over here in the Southern California area, one of the largest ports in the world is, the Port of LA, Port of Long Beach combined out here in Southern California. So a lot of large container ships come in and out of here. And even, up towards the San Francisco Bay, this is an issue. You guys have a large port up there. Container ships it just happened to be that all these ports are in areas where whales frequent, out towards the Farallones. There's a lot of whales, and
the ships come in contact with the whales is the issue.
Exactly, right. And that's an issue known as ship strike. So whales, even though humpbacks, they're kind of agile, but still sometimes accidents happen. Just like cars collide, ships and whales do collide. It has been an ongoing issue. Steps have been taken to kind of modify the shipping lanes, and even speed reduction proposals have come up. And, the thing is, we can't really tell exactly if it's working, because a lot of these incidents, they're out in the open ocean, they go unreported, and But there have been instances of whales coming up with large scars, that appear to be from, contact with a ship or even from a prop, cutting up the whale. So that is one major issue out here. But proposals such as limiting their speed when they come to areas where there's a lot of whales have been brought up and have been applied in certain areas. Shifting the shipping lanes has been tried. Also systems there's a system called Whale Alert where large ships will be notified if whales are in the area. So there's been a few ways that people are trying to prevent this from happening. So that's one issue that they have in California that's threatening these whales. The second is entanglement. And what that is whales actually getting entangled, usually in fishing gear, usually commercial fishing gear. And that is basically a whale getting, like exactly what it sounds, getting tangled up in, various like ropes, even nets sometimes that are used by fishermen. So luckily we have a few teams up and down our coast that are monitoring those issues. They'll actually make a rescue attempt on these whales if they can get to them and it's safe to do so.
Right, it's like they'll get their tail caught maybe on the rope or something, and they can.
Exactly.
And people think of them being in the water, but they can drown from that, can't they?
Exactly. What happens is, it causes a lot of drag. Sometimes, believe it or not, there could be just maybe 300 feet of rope on the whale. Sometimes even more. I mean, we've heard of instances where there's maybe up to a mile of rope attached to these animals, and that causes a lot of drag. You just imagine, swimming in a pool with someone clamping onto you or with a rope tied, to your leg, dragging something. So, even though they're whales, living in the water, if you got something constantly tugging on you, that's obviously going to cause you an issue. So that is one of the major issues that our whales have to deal with out here in Southern California. And also, it's technically a worldwide problem too. There's other places in the world where this can happen. So anytime a whale gets entangled, luckily we have teams on our coast here that will actually try to make a rescue effort if it's safe to do so.
Hey, how cool is that? No, we don't know.
Yeah.
Normally you don't think of whales drowning, but they are air-breathing mammals. And at some point they need to breathe. No, that's an issue. So you talked about, whales getting hit by boats, ships,
mm-hmm.
and then you mentioned, they getting stuck in fishing stuff. Is there any other issue? Are whales? Do people still hunt whales in the world?
Not in our area, but I'm sure we always hear about the issues in a few of our European countries and one of our Asian countries. So in those parts of the world, those fish, there's still a few whaling countries out there, unfortunately.
So these aren't like pirates out just doing their own thing for black market stuff. These are they can legally do it.
Some say it's legal, some say it's not, depending on which country you're talking about.
Right. I mean, are they out harpooning them, or are they trapping them in nets?
A lot of them are still using traditional explosive-tipped harpoons.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow,
yeah.
It's pretty amazing that they still do that. Now, that to separate you from, like, eco-terrorists, you're not out on the boats trying to get in front of the spear or anything like that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
My main thing is educating.
Right.
Just educating and inspiring people. When you teach someone something and they learn to love the animal, they're automatically going to want to protect it.
Right.
So
no. Yeah, I want to talk about that in a bit. But why do people hunt whales? Why? What do they do with them?
Well, we all know. Don't want to get too far into it. Some claim it's for research. And other countries are still using the animals for food.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's the answer? I mean, you mentioned a little bit about those things. So how do we make sure there's a future for these animals?
I think it's just going to be education. Educate. Like what we do on our whale watches. We use over at Dana Wharf. We have pretty much all our crew is our ACS certified naturalists. What is the American Cetacean Society, big organization here in the U.S. that just that tries to, educate everyone about these cetaceans. And they actually have a certification program, and then we use them to certify our crew. And it's just spreading the word, like I said. And I think even like Steve Irwin used to always say, when someone learns to love something, they're going to want to protect it. And that's our goal. My main job out there is just get these people to love these animals. I've been doing this for years and never get tired of looking at them, so want them to do the same thing.
Now that brings up a question for me, and you can answer it, talk about it if you want or not. But now recently, animal rights groups pressured SeaWorld to close down their orca program. Now, for many people, this leaves a big gap in the exposure that we have to get close to these animals. A lot of conservation efforts focus on long-term education, like you were talking about, certain species. And the idea is if you see it, like you said, you come close to it, the Steve Irwin way, if you touch it even, you're more likely to want to do things to help protect that animal in the future. So is there a gap now, in your opinion, in the potential good that could have been done for the future with these closing of the orca programs?
You know what? It's a situation where I've never really looked that far into. I personally think that any contact with animals is good. Let's just put it that way. But I try not to delve too much into the anti-cap and pro-cap type of discussion.
Okay, understandable. Now, whale watching is a lot of fun. If you're listening and haven't been able to go out into the ocean to see whales swimming around, I recommend you do it. I've done it before. It's fairly inexpensive and a real treat. They take you out into the ocean pretty far, and then you see some whales for a little bit, and then they bring you back. It's lots of fun. Eric, tell me about some of the work you do on these trips. You take people out, and you help others appreciate these creatures. Tell me how that works.
Yeah, definitely. So where I work at Dana Wharf Whale Watching, we actually try to do about 3 to 4 trips a day. What we do is, we take people out for about 2 hours or so, just up and down our coast, looking for any type of amazing marine life out there. Just because we're called Dana Wharf Whale Watching doesn't mean exactly we find whales. There have been occasions where we've been lucky enough to come upon, sharks out there, and sea turtles. So you never know what you're going to run into out in the water. One neat thing that people love seeing is sunfish or mola mola. That is a fish that
those are
tends
cool.
to really fascinate people out there. So we, even though we're a whale watching company, we really want to show people everything that's out there in the ocean. So that's one thing a naturalist does, is teach. One thing we see out there, especially along our coastline, is kelp beds. We like to explain to people how important the kelp beds are. Another thing is a lot of times when we find dolphins and stuff like that is we don't usually sometimes see the dolphins first. We actually see birds first diving on bait fish, so we like to teach people a little bit about the bird life out there too. So, heading out there, it's not just talking about whales, it's talking about the entire marine life ecosystem that we have off our coastline, and even sometimes a little bit about, the landmarks that we have out here. Like we're just, from Dana Point, about 30 miles away from Catalina Island, one of the Southern Channel Islands off our coastline. So when you're out there, there's a lot to talk about, and we just like to, inspire people to love the ocean. So that's about it. Really fun job. Simple for me because I love talking about it, but yeah, it never gets old. I love it.
No, that'd be a great job going out there, see whales all the time and talk to other people about it. And getting paid for it. That's awesome. There's something different about seeing an animal in person, like you said. So that's great that you take people out there. Do you have any whale tales, some good stories about going out whale watching? Anything that's been a highlight for you?
There's so many, like you were talking about earlier about looking eye to eye to a gray whale. There's been a few times. One of my experiences that really hit me one day was with bottlenose dolphins. We've always known that they're an animal that is, bright. I remember one day having some bottlenose dolphins actually bow ride our boat. The boat pushes a lot of water, and the bottlenose dolphin actually like to come right in front of the boat and get a little push, and they love doing that. It's they're one of the few animals out there that actually likes to play, you know. So they're playing with us, bow riding, and then we saw a whale, so we slowed down and stopped. And these dolphin stopped with us. One of them actually stuck its head out of the water, literally looked at me eye to eye and started vocalizing. And I don't speak dolphin, but I had a really strong feeling that he was telling me, "Hey, keep on going. Why'd you guys stop?"
Oh, I see.
And that moment there just made me, it was like a real like interaction with the animal. And, even though we probably couldn't understand each other, I just, it just really hit me like, hey, he's trying to tell me something. And this is, something that's not a big dumb fish, as some people think. Yes, it's a mammal, it's interbreeding, and it has a brain, and it's trying to communicate with me. So little things like that, I hope that happens to some of my guests, so they really start to admire these animals and
that's great.
Love them for
you see the dolphins.
I've been not see so much. There's a lot of stories out there. I just can't think of any other ones right now, but that one has always hit me.
Oh, that's really cool. I like hearing it. I'm enjoying this talk. Do you have any favorite species of whale, or a species you haven't come in contact with that kind of on your list, target species you want to see, or in your favorite species as well?
There's always that list, out there that you want to see. Pretty much anything out of my area, I definitely want to see. Right whales, they're really rare off our coastline. I would love to see those. Narwhals, belugas up north. That's something definitely I want to see.
Oh, that's cool. You do any whale impressions?
No, definitely. I'm really bad at impressions.
You're not going to do your Dory impression for me. Okay. Now, aside from whales, what other animals do you enjoy working with? You talked about how wildlife kind of fits into this network. We're all kind of interconnected with them, and if we lose a species, it kind of affects the rest of the game there, kind of like a Jenga puzzle. So aside from whales, are there any other animals you enjoy working with and that you get to work with? I know I think you used to work with invertebrates. Is that still an interest for you?
I dabbled in a little bit of everything. One thing I'm really big on right now are citizen science programs, and one of them does involve sea turtles. So,
cool.
always like checking out our local sea turtle population out there. A lot of people don't think they exist out here in Southern California. They think you have to go hundreds of miles away into the tropics, but we actually have a pretty neat population of green sea turtles that I like to check out every now and then out here in Southern California. And, just being along the coastline, tide pools, I'm a really big, I'm a really big tide pool guy. I love going up and down our coastline, checking out these tide pools during minus tides and stuff like that. All kinds of little creatures, fascinate me. In fact, we're coming upon our grunion runs here next month. That's, simple, little, unique things like that we have along our coastline. I like to, check out.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you're an ocean guy. So the ocean called you.
Yep, typical beach bum.
Oh, really? Tell me how you got there. Tell me how you got to the point. I know you did other animals for a while. And they're interesting to you, and then you found these ocean creatures. How did you go from? How'd you get to where you are now?
Well, I actually, grew up in Redondo Beach area, so ocean was always right there in my backyard. My dad, he was a big, ocean guy too, diving, fishing, and stuff like that. So obviously, I got into it. So I was a kid who always loved the ocean, always loved fish, especially. I used to always get in trouble for trying to pet my pet fish. I would stick my hand in the aquarium, grab them, pet them, and stuff like that. So since I was a little tiny kid, buying fish, having them in the fish bowl, always wanted to interact with them. Growing up, wanted to work with, aquatic animals. And I wanted a few people who stuck with what they wanted to do, when they grew up. And I'm doing it now.
Oh, that's really amazing. I mean, it's fun kind of hearing you. I wish I could be out there with you at some time. I'm trying to think what I was going to say. I had it in my head. Now, talk to those listening. Tell us why whales are important animals to do conservation work for. Where can people go to learn more about whales and whale conservation?
Yeah, definitely. So, I know a majority of your crowd are, wildlife lovers, and we all know, any little missing link out of our ecosystem is going to affect us. And obviously, whales are a part of a really important link in our ecosystem and what oceans worldwide. As far as conservation goes, luckily are a pretty high profile animal out there. Certain species aren't, but certain species are. But most organizations out there, such as the American Cetacean Society, do run a lot of educational programs. They'll help you learn about these animals. Sometimes they even sponsor whale watches. Most companies run one that's about hour or two long, but sometimes they'll do extended ones, really get you out in the ocean there. One thing you can do is also go, like, for example, on my company's website, vanawharf.com, I started writing a marine life blog, just about, fun facts about animals that we see, different way. And in fact, my latest one is the difference between seals and sea lions. I also did a really neat one that I love doing on the different types of orca that are seen off the coastline of Dana Point. So, there's a lot of ways out there that you can get educated, through a lot of online resources or, just going on a whale watch. A lot of marine biologists who work for these good marine biologists and naturalists work for these marine whale watching companies out there. So just going on a trip, you're going to get a chunk of education right there.
That's so cool. The ocean is amazing. It is vast. It is deep. Is it true that we know the surface of the moon better than we know the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, definitely. It seems like we've been paying more attention to space, but we got to realize the ocean, is majority unexplored. And believe it or not, a lot of our medicines actually come from certain types of marine life out there. So I know a lot of pharmaceutical companies are actually interested in checking out the bottom of the ocean, corals, sponges, and even some venoms from certain animals are actually used in the pharmaceutical field. So just like people always say, the Amazon has a lot of, and the plant life there has a lot of benefit to us, but the ocean and its inhabitants there actually can help us out too.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I did a talk with Carl Person. He talked to me about how reptile venom is producing all these medications that are life-saving and even could hold the key to curing cancer. Can you give me,
exactly.
You intrigued me. Can you give an example of how sea life studies are producing medicines now, you said?
Yeah, exactly. I know one of the more basic ones that a lot of us know about is neurotoxins, such as the ones found in pufferfish, fugu. A lot of people know about fugu, the fish that's eaten in Japan, type of pufferfish that, certain organs and even the skin have a neurotoxin in it. Tetrodotoxin is actually now synthesized to become a painkiller. So they use it to help out cancer treatments, to help ease nausea and stuff like that. I know there's also a few other ones. I believe cone snails, there's a toxin in those inverts that are actually being synthesized to be used for various types of treatments of different ailments there too. So even certain sponges out there contain elements in it that are beneficial to the pharmaceutical field.
No, it's amazing that we have these animals, and it'd be a shame if the key to curing humanity were lost in a species that we neglected.
Exactly.
So,
we might not even discover these animals, before they're wiped out if we don't do something to help out our ocean.
Yeah, or just new things we find out about animals we've always seen there, but never knew these specific new things about them. It's amazing. Eric, thank you so much for being here to talk to me about whales and the ocean. And I went a little longer than I figured. I had so much fun talking to you.
Great.
And we can talk another time. We'll talk pinnipeds or something.
Definitely, yeah. We can do a part 2.
Part 2. All right, Eric, thank you so much. Hope to have you on again. Thank you so much for teaching us about whales and the ocean.
Great. Thanks a lot, Edgar.
You have a good evening.
All right, you too.
That was my friend Eric Austin Yee, I hope that listening to this, we've inspired you to go out and to the coast and book a whale watching trip or learn more about these animals. Thank you again for listening to the Edgar Ortega Radio Show. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this one. Once again, my name is Edgar Ortega, and you've been listening to the Edgar Ortega Radio Show.